I never thought I'd find myself here at 55 teaching downward dog to board, housewives, and overworked executives. But life has a way of throwing curveballs, and mine came in the form of a failed marriage and a mountain of debt. I'm Elizabeth Gray, and this is my story of how I went from respected academic to struggling yoga instructor in Corpus. Christy, the studio, smelled of sandalwood and sweat as I guided my 10A. Class through their final poses and released, I said, watching as a collective sigh of relief rippled through the room as they rolled up their mats and filed out. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. My brunette hair, once meticulously styled, was pulled back in a messy bun. The lines around my blue eyes seemed deeper than ever. Great class, Elizabeth, chirped Sarah, a regular same time next week. I nodded, forcing a smile. If only she knew that I was barely making ends meet. The divorce had left me with nothing but debt and regret. My ex-wife, Margaret, had a gambling problem that I'd foolishly tried to fix now at an age when I should be planning for retirement. I was starting over as I locked up the studio. My phone buzzed. It was an email about a local entrepreneur competition, the grand prize, $100,000, and mentorship from top business leaders. My heart raced. This could be my ticket out of financial hell. I spent the next week crafting my pitch, a plan to digitalize is traditional yoga practices, making them accessible to a wider audience. It wasn't groundbreaking, but it was solid, or so I thought. The day of the competition arrived, and I found myself in a sea of young, eager faces. I felt like a relic, out of place and out of time. That's when I saw her. Scarlett Bailey, blonde, green-eyed, and exuding confidence. She couldn't have been more than 38. Our eyes met, and for a moment, I forgot to breathe. First time, she asked her voice warm and slightly husky. I nodded suddenly, feeling tongue-tied. Me too. She grinned, may the best woman win, as we took our seats. I couldn't help but steal glances at her. There was something magnetic about her presence. The competition began, and one by one contestants presented their ideas. When it was Scarlett's turn, my blood ran cold. Her pitch was eerily similar to mine, a wellness app that incorporated yoga and meditation. My hands shook as I approached the podium. I stumbled through my presentation, acutely aware of Scarlett's eyes on me. As I finished, the room fell silent. Miss Gray, one judge began, your idea is intriguing, but we've just heard a very similar proposal. How do you differentiate yourself? I felt the heat rise to my cheeks. Well, I stammered, searching for words. If I may, Scarlett interjected, standing up, while our ideas share similarities. I believe there's room for collaboration rather than competition. The room buzzed with excitement. I stood there dumbfounded as Scarlett approached me with an outstretched hand. What do you say, Elizabeth? Partners. As our hands touched, a jolt of electricity passed between us. Little did I know this moment would change everything. Just then, a man in a sharp suit approached us. Ladies, I'm from reality TV network. We'd love to feature your story on our new show, Startup Showdown. What do you say? Scarlett's eyes sparkled with excitement. Mine widened in horror. Reality TV at my age, but as I opened my mouth to decline, I remembered Margaret's debts. The show's payout could be my salvation. We're in, I heard myself say, sealing my fate as we left the competition hall. Scarlett linked her arm through mine. This is going to be fun, she whispered, her breath tickling my ear. I couldn't have been more terrified or more alive. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of meetings, contracts, and camera tests. I found myself thrust into a world I never imagined I'd be part of, especially not at my age. The reality show producers seemed thrilled by the unlikely duo narrative they were crafting around Scarlett and me. Elizabeth, darling, you're our diamond in the rough. Haley Hernandez, the show's producer, gushed during one of our pre-production meetings at 45. She was the bridge between Scarlett and me, both in age and in her ability to navigate our vastly different personalities. I couldn't help but roll my eyes. I'm hardly a diamond. Haley, more like a lump of coal under pressure. Scarlett, sitting across from me, let out a laugh that sent an unexpected shiver down my spine. Don't sell yourself short, Liz. You've got more spark than you realize. Her casual use of a nickname caught me off guard. When had we become so familiar? I found myself studying her profile as she chatted animatedly with Haley about potential sponsors. The sunlight streaming through the window caught her blonde hair, creating a halo effect that was almost angelic. I shook my head, trying to dispel these distracting thoughts as the meeting wrapped up. Haley dropped a bombshell. Ladies, we've decided. To amp up the competition angle, you'll be developing your apps separately, not as partners with Scarlett and... I exclaimed in unison, but that's not what we agreed to. I protested, feeling a knot form in my stomach, the idea of going head-to-head with. Scarlett was both terrifying and oddly exhilarating. Haley shrugged her smile, never wavering. Ratings. Darlings, the audience loves a good rivalry. As we left the production office, Scarlett caught my arm. Hey, you okay with this? We can fight it if you... What? I sighed, feeling the weight of my financial troubles pressing down on me. No, it's fine. May the best woman win, right? She studied me for a moment, her green eyes searching mine. Right? But let's promise to keep it friendly. Yeah. I nodded, trying to ignore the warmth of her hand on my arm. Friendly competition. It is the next day. Filming began in earnest. We were each given a workspace in a trendy co-working environment, conveniently located across the hall from each other. The cameras followed our every move as we brainstormed, coded, and developed our respective apps. I threw myself into the work, determined to prove that my years of experience could compete with Scarlett's youthful energy. But as the days wore on, I found myself increasingly distracted by her presence, the way she chewed on her pen when deep in thought, the triumphant little dance she did when solving a problem. It was all oddly endearing. One evening, as the crew was packing up for the day, Scarlett popped her head into my workspace. Hey, wanna grab a drink? I could use a break from all this. I hesitated, acutely aware of the age gap between us. I don't know. Scarlett, isn't there someone more your age you'd rather hang out with? She rolled her eyes. Please, I spend enough time with vapid 20-somethings. I could use some mature company against my better judgment. I found myself nodding. We ended up at a quiet bar a few blocks away, tucked into a corner booth with glasses of wine. So Elizabeth, Grice, Scarlett said, leaning forward, what's your story? How does an academic end up teaching yoga and competing on a reality show? I took a long sip of wine before answering. It's not a pretty story. Failed marriage, crippling debt. You know, the usual midlife crisis stuff. Scarlett's hand found mine across the table. I'm sorry, that must be tough. Her touch sent a jolt through me, and I pulled my hand away, perhaps too quickly. It's fine. I'm managing. What about you? Why is a successful young entrepreneur slumming it on reality TV? A shadow passed over her face. Let's just say family expectations can be a powerful motivator. We spent the next few hours talking, laughing, and sharing stories. As the night wore on, I found myself relaxing in a way I hadn't in years. There was something about Scarlett that made me feel seen. As we stumbled out of the bar, pleasantly buzzed, Scarlett turned to me. You know, Liz, I think we could make a great team. Too bad we competitors now. I replied, trying to keep my tone light. She stepped closer, her eyes glinting in the streetlight. Who says we can't be both for a moment? I thought she might kiss me. Part of me wanted her to, but then she stepped back, breaking the spell. Good night, Elizabeth. See you tomorrow. As I watched her walk away, I realized I was in dangerous territory. This wasn't just friendly competition anymore. I was falling for Scarlett Bailey, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. The next morning, nursing a slight hangover, I arrived at the workspace to find Haley waiting for me. Elizabeth, darling, we've got a surprise for you. The network wants to do a deep dive into your backstory. We're bringing in a special guest. My blood ran cold. Please tell me it's not Margaret Gray, your ex-wife. Haley confirmed, her smile predatory. Check. Be here this afternoon. As she walked away, I sank into my chair, head in my hands. Just when things were looking up, my past was coming back to haunt me, and with cameras rolling, there would be nowhere to hide. The hours ticked by like a slow motion nightmare. I tried to focus on my work, but my mind kept drifting to Margaret and the mess she'd left behind. When the door finally opened, I steeled myself for the confrontation. Margaret wailed and looking as polished and put together as ever. Her silver hair was styled impeccably and her tailored suit screamed success you'd never guess. She'd nearly gambled away our life savings. Elizabeth, darling, she purred, air kissing my cheeks as the cameras rolled. How lovely to see you, I forced. A smile acutely aware of the crew capturing every moment. Margaret, what a surprise. Haley, ever the puppet master, stepped in. Ladies, why don't we sit down and have a little chat about the past for the next hour? Margaret and I rehashed our history for the cameras. She painted herself as the misunderstood wife, driven to distraction by my workaholic tendencies. I bit my tongue, knowing that any outburst would only make for juicier television and the gambling. Haley prompted, leaning in eagerly. Margaret had the grace to look ashamed. A regrettable phase, but I've changed, Elizabeth. I've gotten help. I couldn't hold back anymore. Changed? Is that why I'm still paying off your debts? The room fell silent even. Haley looked taken aback by my outburst. Margaret reached for my hand, her eyes glistening with what I hoped were crocodile tears. Oh, Lizzie, I had no idea. Let me help you. I snatched my hand away. I don't need your help. Margaret, I'm doing just fine on my own. As if on cue, Scarlett burst into the room. She took in the scene before her eyes narrowing as they landed on Margaret. Everything okay in here? She asked, her tone deceptively light. I felt a rush of gratitude for her presence. We just wrapping up, I said, standing abruptly. Margaret was just leaving. As Margaret gathered her things, she leaned in close. This isn't over, Elizabeth. We have unfinished business. I watched her leave, a mixture of relief and dread washing over me when the door closed behind her. I slumped back into my chair. Scarlett was by my side in an instant. Hey, you okay? I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Cut, Haley called. That was fantastic, Elizabeth. The audience is going to eat this up. I felt sick. Scarlett must have sensed my distress because she turned to Haley with a sweet smile that didn't reach her eyes. I think we're done for the day, don't you? Haley looked like she wanted to argue, but something in Scarlett's expression made her think better of it. Sure. We'll pick this up tomorrow. As the crew filed out, Scarlett knelt beside me. Come on, Letton, get out of here. Before I knew it, we were in her car, driving along the Corpus Christi bayfront. The salty breeze coming off the water helped clear my head. Want to talk about it? Scarlett asked softly. I sighed, not really, but I suppose I owe you an explanation. Over the next hour, I poured out the whole sordid tale, how Margaret's Ling had spiraled out of control, how I tried to cover for her, how it had eventually cost me my job and my savings. Scarlett listened without judgment, her hand occasionally squeezing mine in support. When I finished, she pulled the car over and turned to face me. Elizabeth, you are one of the strongest women I've ever met. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. Her words, so simple yet so powerful, broke something inside me. Before I knew it, I was sobbing. Scarlett pulled me into her arms, holding me as I fell apart. As my tears subsided, I became acutely aware of our proximity. Scarlett's breath was warm on my neck, her fingers gently stroking my back. I pulled away slightly, my eyes meeting hers. For a moment, the world seemed to stand still, then almost in slow motion, Scarlett leaned in. Our lips met in a soft, tentative kiss that sent sparks shooting through my body. We broke apart both a little breathless. I'm sorry, Scarlett whispered. I shouldn't have. I cut her off with another kiss, this one deeper and more urgent. When we finally came up for air, I couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. What's so funny? Scarlett asked. Her cheeks flushed just thinking about what great TV this would make. I quipped. She joined in my laughter, the tension between us dissipating as we drove back to the city. A comfortable silence settled over us. The next few days were a blur of stolen glances and secret smiles. We tried to maintain a professional demeanor in front of the cameras, but there was an undeniable shift in our dynamic. Our rivalry, once the focal point of the show, had evolved into a strange dance of competition and collaboration. We'd work on our separate apps during the day, then spend evenings brainstorming together. One night, as we pored over user interface designs in my apartment, Scarlett broached the subject we've both been avoiding. What are we doing, Liz? She asked, setting aside her laptop. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. I don't know, Scar. This is all new territory for me. She scooted closer, taking my hand in hers. I like you, Elizabeth, a lot, but I know this is complicated. Complicated is an understatement. I chuckled. You're younger, we competitors. And oh, yeah, there are cameras following our every move. Scarlett's thumb traced circles on my palm, set in shivers up my arm. So what do we do? I looked at her, really looked at her, despite the age difference. Despite the competition, despite everything, I wanted this. I wanted her. We be careful. I said finally, and we see where this goes. Her smile could have lit up the room. She leaned in, kissing me softly. I can work with that. As if on cue, both our phones buzzed. It was a message from Haley. Big News Network wants to take the show national press conference tomorrow. Be ready to shine, Scarlett. And I exchanged glances. Our little bubble was about to get a whole lot bigger. The next morning, we found ourselves in front of a sea of reporters' cameras, flashed as Hallie announced the show's expanded run and increased prize money. As questions flew, I felt Scarlett's hand brush against mine. Under the table, I intertwined our fingers, drawing strength from her touch. Little did we know, someone in the crowd had noticed. As we left the press conference, my phone pinged with a notification. It was a tweet already going viral. Startup Showdown stars looking cozy. Is there more than business brewing between Elizabeth and Scarlett? Attached was a grainy photo of our clasped hands. I showed it to Scarlett, my heart racing. She squeezed my hand tighter. Well, she said with a smile, I guess the cat's out of the bag. As we walked to our separate cars, I couldn't shake the feeling that our lives were about to change dramatically, for better or worse. Our private affair was now very public. Indeed, the aftermath of the viral tweet was immediate and overwhelming. My phone buzzed incessantly with notifications, and my social media accounts exploded with followers and comments. Some were supportive, others less. So the age gap between Scarlett and me seemed to be a particular point of contention. Cradle robber, one commenter sniped. Gold digger accused another, presumably aimed at Scarlett. I shut off my phone, my stomach churning. What had I gotten myself into? Scarlett ever the optimist tried to cheer me up. Hey, at least we're trending, she joked, showing me the hash cigar Elizabeth hashtag that had popped up overnight. I couldn't help but smile at her enthusiasm, even as anxiety quit at me. Scar, are you sure you're okay with this? I mean, I'm old enough to be your— Don't you dare finish that sentence, she interrupted, pressing a finger to my lips. Age is just a number, Liz. I care about you, not the year on your birth certificate. Her words warmed me, but doubts still lingered. I'd been burned before, and the stakes felt impossibly high this time. Haley, of course, was over the moon about the development. This is ratings gold, she crowed. During our next production meeting, we're going to lean into this romance angle hard. I shifted uncomfortably in my seat. Haley, we're not here to be some circus act. We're trying to build businesses. She waved off my concern. Why can't you do both? Trust me, Elizabeth, this is good for everyone. As the days wore on, I found myself struggling to balance the demands of the show, the development of my app, and my burgeoning relationship with Scarlett. The constant scrutiny was taking its toll, and old insecurities began to resurface. One evening, after a particularly grueling day of filming, Scarlett and I retreated to my apartment. As we cuddled on the couch, a commercial for the show came on TV. There we were, our rivalry played up for drama, interspersed with lingering glances and not-so-subtle innuendos. Gosh, I muttered, burying my face in my hands. We look ridiculous. Scarlett chuckled, pulling me closer. I think we look hot. I turned to face her, suddenly serious. Scar, do you ever worry that this isn't real, that we're just caught up in the excitement of the show? Her smile faded, replaced by a look of concern. Is that what you think? I shrugged, feeling vulnerable. I don't know, it's all happened so fast, and you're so young, so vibrant. What could you possibly see in someone like me? Scarlett cued my face in her hands, her green eyes intense. Elizabeth Gray, you listen to me. You are brilliant, beautiful, and braver than anyone I've ever met. How could I not fall for you? Her words brought tears to my eyes. We kissed soft and sweet at first, then, with growing passion as clothes were shed and hands began to wander. I let myself get lost in the moment, pushing aside my doubts and fears. The next morning, I woke to find Scarlett already dressed and pacing the room, phone in hand. Her face was pale, her expression worried. What's wrong? I asked, sitting up. She hesitated before handing me her phone. On the screen was an email from her. Father James Bailey. The language was cold and formal, but the message was clear. He was withdrawing his support for her business ventures unless she ceased this foolish dance immediately. Oh, Scar, I breathed, pulling her into a hug. I'm so sorry. She buried her face in my neck, her body shaking slightly. What am I going to do, Liz, without his backing? I'll lose everything. I felt a cold weight settle in my stomach. This was my fault. If it weren't for me, Scarlett wouldn't be in this position. Maybe I started hating myself for what I was about to say. Maybe we should cool things off for a while, just until the show is over. Scarlett pulled back, her eyes flashing with hurt and anger. Is that what you want? I swallowed hurt. Of course not, but I can't be the reason you lose everything. She stood up abruptly, gathering her things. You know what, Elizabeth? I thought you were different, but you're just like everyone else, ready to give up when things get tough. Before I could respond, she was gone, the door slamming behind her. I spent the next few days in a fog of misery. Scarlett and I maintained a frosty professionalism on camera, but the tension between us was palpable. Haley was beside herself, alternating between trying to rekindle our romance and playing up the drama of our breakup as if things couldn't get any worse. Margaret chose this moment to reappear. She cornered me after a filming session, her expression a mix of concern and calculation. Lizzie, darling, she CED. I heard about your little situation. I might be able to help. I eyed her wearily. What are you talking about? She leaned in close, her voice low. I have some information about Scarlett's family, information that could be very valuable to you. Both my heart raced. What kind of information? Margaret's smile was predatory. Let's just say Mr. Bailey isn't as squeaky clean as he'd like the world to believe. For the right price, I could make sure that information stays buried. I felt sick. Was she really proposing blackmail, Margaret? I want nothing to do with this. Whatever game you're playing, leave me out of it. As I turned to leave, she called after me, think about it, Elizabeth, this could solve all your problems. I walked away, my mind reeling. The temptation to use S information was strong, but I knew it would destroy any chance of reconciliation with Scarlett. More than that, it would destroy my own integrity. That night, as I tossed and turned in my empty bed, I made a decision I couldn't control Scarlett's choices or her family's reactions, but I could control my own actions. I would finish the show, launch my app, and hope that somehow, some way, Scarlett and I could find our way back to each other. Little did I know fate had other plans. The next morning, I arrived at the studio to find it in chaos. Scarlett was nowhere to be seen, and Haley was frantically making calls. What's going on? I asked one of the pot. He looked at me, his eyes wide. You haven't heard? Scarlett's gone. She quit the show last night, and no one knows where she is. I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. Scarlett was gone, and it was all my fault. As the reality of the situation sank in, I knew one thing for certain. I had to find her, no matter what it took. I had to make things right. The studio was in complete disarray. Production assistants scurried about like headless chickens, while Haley barked orders into her phone. I stood in the middle of it all, feeling like the eye of a very chaotic storm. Elizabeth, Haley's shrill voice cut through the noise. Did you know about this? Where the hell is she? I shook my head, still trying to process the situation. I have no idea. We have spoken since. My voice trailed off as the memory of our fight came rushing back. Gosh, I'd been such a fool. Haley's eyes narrowed. Well, you better figure it out. We've got sponsors breathing down our necks and a network exec flying in this afternoon. Find her. As if I needed any more motivation, I nodded curtly and headed for the exit, my mind racing. Where would Scarlett go? Who would she turn to? I spent the next few hours driving around Corpus Christi, checking all of Scarlett's favorite spots, the trendy coffee shop where she liked to work, the beachfront, where we'd shared our first kiss, even the startup incubator where we'd first met. Nothing, exhausted and disheartened, I found myself parked outside Scarlett's apartment building. I knew she wouldn't be there. It'd be the first place the producers would check, but I couldn't help myself as I stared up at her window. A flicker of movement caught my eye. Was that before I could second guess myself? I was out of the car and buzzing her apartment. No answer. I buzzed again, more insistent. This time, go away. Scarlett's voice crackled through the intercom, sounding tired. An annoyed Scar, it's me, I said, my heart pounding. Please, can we talk? There was a long pause, and then the door buzzed open. I took the stairs 2 at a time, arriving at her door, slightly out of breath. Scarlett opened at a crack, her eyes red-rimmed and weary. What do you want, Elizabeth? I took a deep breath. I want to apologize. I was scared and stupid, and I hurt you. I'm so sorry. She hesitated for a moment, then opened the door wider, letting me in her apartment. Was a mess clothes and paper strewn. Everywhere on the coffee table, I spotted a half-empty bottle of wine. I thought you'd left town, I said softly. Scarlett shrugged, colloping onto the couch. I was going to, but then I realized I had nowhere to go. I sat down next to her, careful to maintain some distance. What about your family? She let out a bitter laugh. Oh, you mean the people who are trying to control my life? No thanks. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything unsaid hanging between us. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. Scar, I was wrong. I shouldn't have suggested we cool things off. I was just scared. She turned to look at me, her green eyes searching my face. Scared of what? Of everything, I admitted, of the age difference, of the public scrutiny, of not being enough for you. But mostly I was scared of how much I care about you. Scarlett's expression softened. Oh, Liz, before she could say more, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and groaned. It's my father again. An idea struck me. Let me talk to him. Scarlett's eyes widened. What now? Liz, you don't have to, but I was already reaching for the phone. Mr. Bailey, this is Elizabeth Gray. We need to talk. What followed was one of the most intense conversations of my life. I laid it all out for James Bailey, my feelings for his daughter, our plans for our businesses, and my absolute commitment to supporting Scarlett and whatever she chose to do. Mr. Bailey, I said my voice firm. I understand your concerns, but Scarlett is an incredible, capable woman. She doesn't need your money to succeed. She just needs your support. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Finally, James spoke. Miss Gray, I can't say I approve of this situation, but I can see that you care for my daughter. Perhaps I've been too hasty in my judgment. It wasn't a ringing endorsement, but it was a start. As I handed the phone back to a stunned Scarlett, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. While Scarlett finished talking with her father, I made some calls of my own to Haley, explaining the situation and negotiating some changes to our contracts to my lawyer, discussing options for protecting both Scarlett and myself going forward. By the time Scarlett hung up, tears glistening in her eyes, I had a plan. He's not happy, she said, but Hunes agreed to back off. Elizabeth, I can't believe you did that. I took her hands in mine. Scar, I'd do anything for you. I'm sorry it took me so long to realize that. She leaned in, pressing her forehead against mine. So what now? I smiled. Now we do this on our terms. No more letting the show dictate our relationship. No more hiding or apologizing for how we feel. Scarlett's answering smile was radiant. She pulled me in for a kiss that left me breathless and weak-kneed. When we finally came up for air, I remembered the chaos we'd left behind at the studio. We should probably head back and face the music. Scarlett nodded, her expression turning mischievous. Or we could give them something to really talk about. Before I could ask what she meant, she was pulling me towards her bedroom, leaving a trail of clothes in her wake. Hours later, thoroughly disheveled and grinning like teenagers, we walked hand in into the studio. The place fell silent as every head turned to stare at us. Haley bustled over, her face a mix of relief and exasperation. Where have you two been? The network exec is waiting. I squeezed Scarlett's hand, feeling more confident than I had in years. We've been rewriting the script, Haley. Hope you're ready for a new direction. As we walked into the conference room, heads held high, I knew that whatever came next, Scarlett and I would face it together. The cameras were rolling. The world was watching, and for once I didn't care. I have found something real amidst all the reality TV drama, and I wasn't about to let it go, little did. We know our story was about to take yet another unexpected turn as we sat down to negotiate. Our new terms, a familiar face appeared in the doorway. Margaret looking smug and determined. Sorry. And late she purred, but I think you'll want to hear what I have to say. Scarlett's hand tightened in mine as we exchanged worried glances. Whatever. Margaret had up her sleeve. I had a feeling our happily ever after was going to have to wait. The conference room fell silent as Margaret sauntered, and all eyes fixed on her perfectly coiffed silver hair and predatory smile. I felt Scarlett's hand tighten in mine, and I gave it a reassuring squeeze. Whatever my ex-wife had planned, we'd face it together. Margaret, I said, trying to keep my voice level, this is a closed meeting. You're not welcome here. She ties, shaking her head. Oh, Lizzie, always so quick to dismiss me, but I think you'll want to hear what I have to say. She turned to the network executive, a portly man named Frank, who looked thoroughly confused by the situation. You see, Frank, I have some information that could make your little show the talk of the nation, Haley. Ever the opportunist leaned forward. What kind of information? Margaret's eyes gleamed. The kind that could ruin reputations. Or save them depending on how it's used. I stood up, my patience wearing thin, and enough games. Margaret, what do you want? She pulled out a USB drive, dangling it between her fingers. On this drive is evidence of some, shall we say, creative accounting practices employed by Bailey Enterprises, the kind of practices that could land someone in a lot of trouble. Scarlett gasped beside me. You're blackmailing my father, Margaret shrugged. I prefer to think of it as leveraging information, but yes, essentially. I felt sick. This was exactly what I feared when Margaret had approached me earlier, but now seeing the fear in Scarlett's eyes, I knew. I couldn't let this happen. Whatever you think you have, Margaret, it's not worth it. I said firmly, we're not playing your games, Frank, who had been watching the exchange with growing interest, finally spoke up. Now, hold on a minute. If there's a story here, we have a responsibility to our viewers. No, I interrupted. You have a responsibility to the truth, not to ratings. I turned to Scarlett, who looked pale and shaken. Scar, do you trust me? She nodded, her green eyes wide. I took a deep breath and faced the room. Okay, here's what's going to happen. Margaret, you're going to hand over that drive, not to blackmail anyone, but because it's the right thing to do. Frank, you're going to forget everything you've heard in the last 5 minutes. And Haley, I turned to our producer, who is practically salivating at the drama unfolding. You're going to focus on the real story. Here, two women from different generations building something together. Despite the odds, the room was silent for a moment. Then Margaret laughed. Oh, Lizzie's still trying to play the hero. What makes you think I'll go along with this little plan of yours? I met her gaze steadily, because deep down beneath all the bitterness and manipulation, there's still a part of you that remembers what it's like to do the right thing. And because if you don't, I'll make sure everyone knows about your own creative account during our marriage. Margaret's smile faltered. We stared at each other for a long moment, years of shared history and hurt passing between us. Finally, she sighed and tossed the USB drive onto the table. Fine, have it your way, but don't come crying to me when this all blows up in your face. As she stormed out of the room, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I turned to Scarlett, who was looking at me with a mixture of awe and concern. Are you okay? I asked softly. She nodded, then surprised me by pulling me into a fierce hug. Thank you, she whispered, for standing up for me, for my family. You're incredible. You know that I felt myself blush, still not used to such open admiration. I just did what anyone would do. Scarlett pulled back, cupping my face in her hands. No, Elizabeth, you did what only you would do, and that's why I love you. The words hung in the air between us, both thrill and terrifying. Before I could respond, Haley cleared her throat. Loudly, as touching as this As she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm, we still have a show to produce. So if you two lovebirds are done, can we please get back to business? The next few hours were a whirlwind of negotiations and planning. We hammered out a new direction for the show, one that focused on collaboration rather than competition, Scarlett. And I would combine our ideas working together to create wellness platform that incorporated both traditional yoga practices and cutting edge technology. As we left the studio that evening, exhausted but exhilarated, Scarlett turned to me. Did you mean what you said in there about building something together? I nodded, suddenly feeling shy, if that's what you want. Her smile was radiant. It's all. I want, Liz, you and me taking on the world together. We walked hand in hand along the Corpus Sea bayfront. The setting sun painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks as we reached the spot where we'd shared our first kiss. Scarlett stopped and turned to face me. I meant what I said earlier, you know. She said softly, I do love you, Elizabeth Greyage. Gap reality TV drama, and all my heart soared. I pulled her close, kissing her with all the passion and tenderness. I felt I love you too, Scarlett Bailey, more than I ever thought possible as we stood there wrapped in each other's arms with the waves. Lapping at the shore, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in years, whatever. Challenges lay ahead. I knew we'd face them together. The next few weeks were a blur of filming app development and stolen moments of intimacy. Scarlett and I threw ourselves into our work, determined to create something truly special. The cameras followed our every move, capturing our late-night coding sessions, heated debates over user interface design, and tender moments of support and encouragement as the competition finale approached. The buzz around our show reached fever pitch. Scar Elizabeth was trending nationwide, with fans rooting for our success, both professionally and personally. It was overwhelming at times, but Scarlett's unwavering support kept me grounded. The night before the big presentation, we found ourselves back in my apartment, surrounded by laptops and empty coffee cups. Scarlett stretched her shirt, riding up to reveal a tantalizing strip of skin. We should get some rest, she yawned. Big day tomorrow. I nodded, but made no move to get up. Scar, I said hesitantly, whatever happens tomorrow, I want you to know that it's the most important thing to me, more than any app or prize money. She crawled over to me, straddling my lap and wrapping her arms around my neck. I know, baby, me too, but you know what? We're going to kick ass tomorrow, and then we're going to celebrate in style. As she leaned in to kiss me, I felt a surge of confidence. She was right. We had each other, and that was all we needed. The next morning, as we prepared to take the stage and present our app to the world, Scarlett squeezed my hand, ready to change the world. Partner, I grinned, feeling more alive than I had in years with you by my side always. As we stepped into the spotlight, cameras flashing and the audience cheering, I knew that win or lose, I'd already found the greatest prize of all. Love at any age was worth fighting for, and Scarlett and I, we were just getting started. The auditorium was packed, a sea of faces, all turned expectantly towards the stage. I could feel the heat of the spotlight on my skin, hear the low hum of anticipation from the crowd beside me. Scarlett stood tall and confident, her hands still clasped in mine. Ladies and gentlemen, the announcer's voice boomed through the speakers. Please welcome our final contestants, Elizabeth Grey and Scarlett Bailey. The applause was deafening as we stepped forward. I caught sight of our images on the giant screens flanking the stage. We made quite a pair. Scarlett young and vibrant with her blonde hair gleaming, and me silver streaked, but standing tall, my blue eyes bright with excitement. You've got this, Scarlett whispered, giving my hand a final squeeze before we took our positions at the podium. I took a deep breath and launched into our presentation. We'd rehearsed this 100 times, but nothing could have prepared me for the energy in that room as I spoke about our vision for a holistic wellness platform that bridged the gap between traditional practices and modern technology. I could feel the audience leaning in. Captivated, Scarlett seamlessly took over, demonstrating the app's features with a grace and enthusiasm that had everyone entranced as she walked the judges through a virtual Yoga session complete with real-time posture correction and personalized meditation guidance. I couldn't help but marvel at her. How had I gotten so lucky? When we finished, the room erupted in applause. The judges peppered us with questions, which we fielded with ease, our answers complimenting each other perfectly. As we stepped off the stage, I felt a surge of pride no matter what happened next. We'd given it our all. The wait for the results was excruciating. Scarlet and I huddled in a corner backstage, trying to stay calm. Whatever happened, happens. She said, her green eyes locked on mine. We've already won. I nodded, pulling her close. You're right. We have. The judges have made their decision. The announcer's voice cut through the tension. We hurried back to the stage, joining the other finalists. In third place, not us. In second place, also not us. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear. Scarlett's hand found mine, squeezing tight, and the winners of this year's Startup Showdown with a prize of $500, zero, and a mentorship package. Elizabeth Gray and Scarlett Bailey. The world exploded into noise and light. Scarlett threw her arms around me, laughing and crying at the same time. I held her tight, barely able to believe it. We'd done it. We'd actually done it. The next few hours passed in a blur of interviews, congratulations, and champagne. It wasn't until much later, when we finally escaped to the quiet of our hotel room, that the reality began to sink in. We won, I said, collapsing onto the bed. Scar, we really won. She flopped down beside me, her smile radiant. Did you ever doubt we would? I chuckled, pulling her close. Honestly, yes. 1,000 times. Yes, but you never did you? She propped herself up on one elbow, her expression suddenly serious. I never doubted us, Liz, not for a second. The kiss that followed was deep and passionate, filled with all the emotion of the day. As things heated up, a small part of my brain reminded me that we were still mic'd up for the show, but for once I didn't care. Let the world see how much we loved each other. The next morning, we woke to find that Scar, Elizabeth, was trending #1 worldwide. Our win, and our very public celebration of it, had captured the hearts of millions. Look at this, Scarlett said, scrolling through her phone. Age is just a number. How up? Elizabeth and Scarlett are redefining love and success. They're calling us inspirational. Liz, I peered over her shoulder, marveling at the outpouring of support. There were messages from young LGBTQ individuals thanking us for our visibility, from older folks saying we'd given them hope for new beginnings, even from other entrepreneurs inspired by our collaboration. It's overwhelming, I murmured. Scarlett sat down her phone, turning to face me. Is it too much? We can ask to tone down the personal angle if you're uncomfortable. I thought about it for a moment, then shook my head. No. I think it's important. If our story can help others feel seen and accepted, then it's worth sharing. Her smile was like the sun coming out. Have I told you lately how much I love you, Em? You might have mentioned it. I teased, but I wouldn't mind hearing it again. As Scarlett leaned in to kiss me, her phone buzzed with an incoming call. She glanced at it and groaned. It's my father. I felt a flicker of anxiety, despite our win and the positive public response. James Bailey had remained largely silent on our relationship. Do you want me to give you some privacy? She shook her head, putting the phone on speaker. Hi, Dad. Scarlett. James's voice was gruff, but not unkind. I saw your win on the news. Congratulations. Thanks, Dad. Scarlett replied, her voice cautious. It means a lot to hear that from you. There was a pause then. James cleared his throat. Listen, I may have been hasty in my judgment about a lot of things. Your business acumen, for one, and your relationship. I held my breath, hardly daring to hope. I can see that, Miss Gray. Elizabeth, she's good for you and good with you. I'd like to meet her properly if you're both amiable. Scarlett's eyes filled with tears. Really? Oh, Dad, yes. Yes, we'd love that. As they continued to talk, making plans for a family dinner, I felt a weight I hadn't even realized I was carrying lift from my shoulders. Acceptance. It was a powerful thing. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of activity. We dove headfirst into developing our app now, with the backing and resources to make our wildest dreams A reality the show's final episodes aired, documenting our journey to victory, and our inboxes were flooded with messages of support and partnership opportunity through it all. Scarlett and I remained a united front. We navigated interviews, business meetings, and family dinners, including a surprisingly pleasant evening with James Bailey hand in hand. There were challenges, of course, the occasional troll commenting on our age gap, the stress of sudden fame, the pressure to prove ourselves in the cutthroat world of tech startups, but together we faced each obstacle hidden one evening as we strolled along the Corpus Christi beach where we'd shared so many important moments. Scarlett turned to me with a mischievous glint in her eye. So, Elizabeth Gray, now that we've won the competition, launched our app, and become America's favorite queer power couple, what's next? I laughed, pulling her close. Honestly, I'm just looking forward to some peace and quiet with you. She raised an eyebrow. Oh, really? Because I was thinking. She dropped to one knee, pulling a small box from her pocket. Maybe we could get married to that list. My heart stopped. Scarlett, are you? She opened the box, revealing a stunning sapphire ring. Elizabeth, you've taught me that love knows no boundaries, not age, not circumstance, not public opinion. You're my partner in every sense of the word, and I want to spend the rest of my life building our dreams together. Will you marry me? Tears blurred my vision as almost I nodded, too overcome to speak, as Scarlett slipped the ring onto my finger and pulled me into a kiss. I knew that this was just the beginning of our greatest adventure, yet little did we know as we celebrated on that moonlit beach that our story was about to take yet another unexpected turn, one that would test our love, our business, and everything we thought we knew about ourselves. But that's a tale for another day. The sun was just peeking over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold as Scarlett and I stood hand in hand on the beach. It was hard to believe that a year had passed since that fateful evening when she proposed, a year filled with more love, laughter, and yes, challenges than I ever could have imagined. Ready for this? Scarlett asked, squeezing my hand. I took a deep breath, inhaling the salty sea air. With you, always. We turned to face the small gathering of friends and family assembled on the sand. Haley was there, of course, with a camera crew until this final episode of our journey was set to be the highest rated yet. But as I looked into Scarlett's eyes, the rest of the world faded away. The efficient, can-faced woman we'd chosen for her progressive views and warm demeanor began the ceremony. We are gathered here today to celebrate the union of Elizabeth Gray and Scarlett Bailey, two women who have shown all that love truly knows no boundaries. As she spoke about the nature of love and commitment, I found myself reflecting on the path that had led us here, from reluctant reality TV competitors to business partners to soulmates. Our journey had been anything but conventional when it came time for our vows. Scarlett went first. Her voice, usually so confident, trembled slightly with emotion. Liz, when I first met you, I thought you were just another competitor to beat, but you quickly became so much more. You're my partner, my inspiration, my rock. You've taught me that age is just a number, that it's never too late to chase your dreams, and that the most unexpected love can be the most powerful. I promise to stand by you, to challenge you, to grow with you for all the days of our lives. Tears pricked my eyes as I began my own vows. Scarlett, you burst into my life like a whirlwind, turning everything I thought I knew upside down. You've shown me that it's okay to take risks, to be vulnerable, to love without fear. You make me feel young and vibrant, but also wise and valued. I promise to always be your biggest cheerleader, your trusted confidant, and your faithful partner in all of life's adventures. As we exchange rings, the rising caught the sapphire on my engagement ring, sending sparkles dancing across the sand. It felt like a sign, a blessing from the universe itself, by the power vested in me. The officiant set her smile wide. I now pronounce you wife and wife you. May kiss the bride. Scarlett swept me into her arms, tipping me dramatically. As our lips met, the small crowd erupted in cheers and applause, but I hardly noticed in that moment. It was just us sealed in a promise of forever. The reception that followed was a joyous affair held at a beachfront restaurant we'd rented out for the occasion. James Bailey, true to his word, had not only attended the wedding but gave a heartfelt toast that left barely a dry eye in the house, too. Elizabeth and Scarlett, he raised his glass, his voice gruff, with emotion. You've taught this old man a thing or two about love and acceptance. May your life together be as bright and boundless as your love for each other. As the party wound down, Scarlett and I snuck away for a moment alone. We stood on the restaurant's balcony overlooking the beach, where we just pledged our lives to each other. So Mrs. Gray Bailey, Scarlett murmured, wrapping her arms around me from behind. How does it feel to be a married woman? I leaned back into her embrace, savoring the warmth of her body against mine. Honestly, it feels like coming home, like I've finally found where I belong. She kissed my neck softly. I know exactly what you mean. We stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the waves crash against the shore. Then Scarlett spoke again, a hint of excitement in her voice. You know, I've been thinking. I turned in her arms, raising an eyebrow. Oh, should I be worried? She laughed, swatting my arm playfully. Hear me out. Our app has been doing amazingly well, right? And we've gotten so many messages from people saying how much our story has inspired them. I nodded, wondering where she was going with this. Well, what if we took it a step further? What if we started a foundation to support LGBTQ entrepreneurs, especially those facing age discrimination or other barriers? My heart swelled with pride and love. This was so perfectly Scarlett, always thinking bigger, always looking for ways to make a difference. I think it's a brilliant idea, I said, pulling her close, and I can't think of anyone I'd rather change the world with than you. As we sealed the idea with a kiss, I marveled at how far we'd come from reluctant reality. TV contestants to newlyweds with a vision to make a real difference in the world. It hadn't always been easy, and I knew there would be challenges ahead, but with Scarlett by my side, I felt ready to take on anything. The sound of someone clearing their throat interrupted our moment. We turned to see Haley standing in the doorway, an uncharacteristically soft expression on her face. Sorry to interrupt, lovebirds, but we're ready for the final shot. You know, riding off into the sunset and all that. Scarlett and I exchanged a look, then burst out laughing. Of course, our wedding day wouldn't be complete without one last nod to the show that had brought us together. As we made our way down to the beach, where a classic convertible was waiting to whisk us away, I felt a sense of completion. This chapter of our story was ending, but a new one was just beginning, and if our past was any indication, it was going to be one hell of an adventure with the cameras rolling. One last time, Scarlett helped me into the car, then slid into the driver's seat. As we pulled away, the sound of cheers and well wishes fading behind us, she turned to me with that dazzling smile I'd fallen in love with, ready for our happily ever after. Mrs. Gray Bailey. I leaned over to kiss her cheek, my heart full to bursting. With you, my love, always. And as we drove off into the sunset, the ocean breeze in our hair, and endless possibilities stretching out before us, I knew that this wasn't just happy ending, it was a beautiful beginning.